Hi everybody, Wandering Pastor here on a snowy Michigan afternoon, and something I was reading this morning made me think about something maybe we should remember. Jesus was asked, what is the most important commandment? And he answered something that many of us have heard before. He said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. That's the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. And I've read that many times and thought, okay, so I need to be more loving. But I wonder why those were the two greatest commandments. I mean, I think I know, biblically what it means, and certainly from the Old Testament it was carried over, and so that makes sense. But why? Why is it so important that we love God and that we love our neighbors? And I was thinking how crucial it is that we love God for a couple reasons. With all our heart, all our soul, all our mind, all of that, for a couple reasons. When you love someone, what do you do for them? You do whatever is necessary, right? When you love someone, you sacrifice for them. You willingly give your life for them. You lay down your preferences for them. You get out of the way for them. You hold the door for them. You sacrifice for them in big ways and small, right? And certainly there are times God has called us to love Him and sacrifice ourselves for Him as we follow Him. But it's also this: when we love someone, we move toward them. We find opportunities to be with them. We get closer to them. We prioritize them. We want to be close to them. We love them. So, in a sense, if I'm loving God, not just like out of obligation, not because I know it's the right thing to do, not because it's the best answer, but if I'm loving God and I'm nurturing my relationship with God and I'm trying to go closer to Him and I'm moving closer to Him, then of course I'm going to follow Him. Of course I'm going to follow His will. Of course I'm going to avoid sin because I love God with all my heart, soul, and mind. And then how do I love my neighbor as myself? Well, it's the same thing. If I love my neighbor, and Jesus talked about who is your neighbor right after this, but if I love my neighbor, I'm going to do what I can to serve my neighbor. I'm going to do what I can to put them first. I'm going to do what I can to sacrifice myself as many times as necessary in order to show them my love. Well, in today's day and age, there's a whole lot of people who have forgotten these things. People within the church and people outside the church. We think we're justified in acting in hatred toward people. And we'd never use the word hatred if we're inside the church, but essentially that's what we're doing. And so I just want to encourage you to think about that. What does it mean to love God and to love your neighbor? It's interesting. I mean, the only time self comes up in that whole thing is at the very end. It's the very last word: love your neighbor as yourself. It's just not paramount to Jesus. And so when you're following Jesus, or if you're a follower of His, you're really called to love two things, and you're not on the top of the list. You're at the bottom of the list. You're called to love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And so that's not only not doing the bad stuff, that's actually doing the good stuff. It's actually not just trying to avoid offending God. It's actually moving closer to God. And you and I have the opportunity to do just that. And the same thing goes with our neighbor. And so I just want to encourage you today, in this time of division and conflict in our nation, don't settle for that. Don't let that become who you are. If you're a believer, especially in Jesus Christ, you need to love God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. You need to love your neighbor as yourself. Sacrifice for them. Move toward them. Try to please them. Give to them. Think of them first. Start with God. Continue with your neighbor. And you'll be pleasing Jesus. Something to think about anyway. Wandering Pastor out. Have a great day.